Mr. Irrelevant 2022, the San Francisco 49ers select Brock Purdy, a quarterback from Iowa State.
Purdy looks to throw. Shek, touchdown, San Francisco. His first NFL touchdown.
When you literally take the last pick of the most recent draft, you plug him in, and not only do the Niners not miss a beat, they start playing at a faster rhythm. It makes you think that maybe, just maybe, it is a paint-by-numbers offense.
I think he can help take them to the Super Bowl, and not just because he doesn't screw it up, Rich, but because he does make a play.
Don't call it a comeback.
Hey, Mr. Irrelevant is back.
Yes, I heard about that, Shazier. Brock Purdy has indeed come back from being the last guy taken at the NFL draft all the way to starting in the NFC title game. Now can he go from the Niners' third stringer to the big game?
Hey, Philly basketball is making a comeback, and Shannon Sharp and the Lakers come back from a debacle versus the Grizzlies. From Wondery, I'm Ryan Shazier.
And I'm Dave Dameshek.
And this is Don't Call It a Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.
Hey, Shek, let's get into this Brock Purdy comeback.
As you wish, 5-0. Yeah, this comeback starts at the end of the 2022 NFL draft, and I mean the very end of the NFL draft.
The 47th Mr. Irrelevant 2022 with the 262nd pick in the 2022 NFL draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Brock Purdy.
In football, of course, the last pick of the draft is nicknamed Mr. Irrelevant on account of them very rarely having relevant NFL careers. Shazier, how often do late seventh-round picks make teams, let alone become starters?
Hey, man, Dave, this is a family show, but, man, I looked up the numbers. It's about 30 to 35% of the guys even make the team before the season even starts.
Well, I'm glad it's a family show because Brock Purdy looks like he's 8 years old. Mm-hmm. And Brock did make it onto the 49ers roster, but he was behind the second-year would-be phenom Trey Lance and the kind of sort of established starter Jimmy Garoppolo on the depth chart. That is until Trey broke his ankle in week 2.
And Lance is down right now. That was quite the hit. Lance absorbed some hits last week against Chicago as well. But on that power run, Lance is down, and Jimmy Garoppolo may see early action today in the first quarter.
And then Jimmy G broke his foot in week 13.
This is after Jimmy Garoppolo was sacked at the end of the last drive in a lot of pain. Coaching staff, some of the training staff over there taking a look at him. That left ankle gets rolled up on, and Garoppolo off on a cart.
That left nobody but Mr. Irrelevant to save the Niners season as they clung to a one-game lead in the NFC West. Most experts, including Dave Dameshek, counted Brock and the Niners out.
It's a 23-year-old guy. He's 23. He's played well. He has a great team around him. There's always this time of year what I call the 3rd and 9 test. And that is when you see what someone is made of. This is not smacking around some team the regular season on the Shanahan Express. I have not seen that from him. He still has a lot to prove.
Despite the doubters, Brock looked great in his first NFL start against one Tom Brady, no less.
It's Brock Purdy's show, making his NFL starting debut, and he's back to pass, avoiding a sack over the middle. It's Kittle. He's got a first down. Purdy back to throw. Pressure coming. Steps away, looking to run, and he walks it in for the touchdown.
So he's come back from Mr. Irrelevant all the way to franchise savior. And for more on Brock Purdy's comeback, here comes Kurt Benkert, a guy who over the last few years has been a Cavalier, a Pirate, a Packer, a 49er. He's been everywhere that's interesting to talk about in football. Now he's here to talk about being in the Niners QB room with Brock Purdy. Kurt Benkert, what's happening, man? Thanks for the time.
Having me. Excited to be here.
What's up, Kurt, man? It's good to talk to you.
Good to see you, man. Glad to be here.
Hey, so I want to ask you a question. So what would Mr. Irrelevant expect his role to be heading into training camp? You know, especially with that, him already knowing that there's a QB battle already. So what is he expecting?
To have to probably pick up Chipotle on travel days, to make sure there's coffee in the room, and to make sure there's snacks and grab water for people whenever they need it. Definitely a quick turnaround for a change of events for him, which has been really cool to see.
All right, so you get there. Like I say, you're with the Packers right around this time a year ago. So you're a part of that melodrama of Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Then you get out of there, and then you land in September in a QB room, I wouldn't say in turmoil, but Trey Lance goes down, Jimmy G in. Did you have some vibe as a guy in there up close and personal? Like, I know he was Mr. Irrelevant. He and I kind of come from the same place, our potential trajectory in the league. Like, but this guy's got something different going than most guys in this spot.
Yeah, I think Brock and I actually talked about it a lot, and a lot of it, like, it's normal football talk. Like, hey, stay ready. Like, you know, your opportunities, it's going to come. It's probably going to come, especially with Jimmy's, like, injury history. I think most seasons he's had something that has caused him to miss some time. But it was a huge, like, a really quick change of events for him. Obviously, in preseason, they had Trey as the 1. They had Nate Sudfeld as the 2. Jimmy was, like, lurking around, wasn't there, and then Brock's just, like, the guy in between. And so then Jimmy signs his contract. They trade Nate. Brock has moved to the 3rd guy, and it's still like this, okay, we got 2 guys in front of me, and, like, I just got to learn, got to play catch-up. Didn't get as much reps maybe as he would have hoped for in preseason and throughout training camp. And so you're just kind of sitting back trying to take in as much as you can from Trey and Jimmy. And then what is it, week 2, the injury happens. And then next thing you know, he's the 2nd guy. So you go from like 4 to 2 very quickly, essentially, on the roster. And when I got there, the talks with my agents were like, look, they love this guy. They think he's got a bright future. And it's going to be like a crash course to get him caught up as quickly as they can. So probably don't expect many reps in practice for yourself, which when I got there, I think I was taking maybe like 2 out of every 10 reps in a period. So it was very few reps. And it was just, what can we do to get Brock caught up to speed against the best defense in the NFL in practice every day? And it really paid off for them because the moment wasn't too big for him, and he's crushing it right now.
But you don't feel like Kyle Shanahan. I mean, coaches say at a podium and with microphones in their faces, tend to say the right things about a guy that's on the roster who is, in the short term at least, going to have to take some big snaps for the team. Do you feel like sincerely Shanahan and otherwise within the organization weren't like, oh shit, the season's over, we got to put the Mr. Irrelevant guy in the game? Well, how long can that continue for us? Or do you think they sincerely thought, we got something special in Purdy?
I think it was more so, maybe like they believed they had something special in him, but it wasn't like an oh crap, like what's going to happen. I think for the longest time they've had sustained success with a number of quarterbacks and people that are honestly less talented than Purdy is. He's athletic. He can change his arm slot. Like, he can move around, break tackles. Like, he's kind of creative. But the only thing was, like, can this translate to the game? Like, he's a little shorter. So there were some unknowns, but I don't think there was ever a panic, especially with the way that the roster was formulated, like the guys they have on offense. And even for someone like Brock, going into that situation in the NFL, like, there's not a better offensive situation to go into. You're going to always be in the right looks. You're going to have really talented guys around you. And, like, a couple times a game, you're going to have to make some plays. But, like, it's not on you. And so if, like, I'm in those shoes, like, that's a really great situation to start your career in, knowing you have the number 1 defense in the NFL. Like, don't screw it up. But, like, if you can elevate your team, go elevate your team. And he's done just that.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of rumors of new quarterbacks coming in, like Baker Mayfield's. And to me, it was kind of surprising that the Rams took Baker and not the 49ers. Do you think them talking about new quarterbacks motivated him?
It probably did motivate him some. I don't think Brock really needs motivation. He's very procedural. Like, he's got his ways that he does things. Like, he's always prepared. He's always working at, like, on extra things after the practice and whatnot. So, like, he has a process that I don't think he really needs much motivation for. But I think for him, knowing that they didn't go out and get a guy to, like, come and directly compete with him probably reassured how much they believed in him to him. And I think as, like, a young guy, that'd be really cool to have, to, like, know that, okay, they're all in on me. Like, for this year, like, we know we can win a Super Bowl this year, and they're not going to go out and get somebody externally to try to, like, take this over from me. So I think for him, it allows him to probably play even more free without somebody, like, just kind of sneaking up behind him. You know what I mean?
As a teammate and, somebody that watches the game and just understands the coaching staff as well. When you see somebody putting in the extra reps after practice and always prepared, you feel a lot more comfortable when they're in the game with you than, a guy who hasn't been prepared, who's coming in as a second string or third string guy. And you can tell like he's in this spot just because his ability, not because of his knowledge. So I can definitely see why the 49ers decided to stick with him. But hearing this from you, it really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, there's a bunch of different guys in the league, a bunch of different ways to get from point A to point B and be ready on game day. But for a young guy like him, who was the last pick of the draft, like, you're going to have to do the extra things to even be in the position to get your shot. And he was ready for it, and he owned those moments.
Rookie third stringer when the thing gets going, as you say. You always hear about speed of the game is the biggest adjustment for a rookie. All those considerations, from what you could pick up, was Shanahan simplifying the playbook for the Rook at all?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it would be simplifying the playbook. When Jimmy was in, it's funny. They had the offense set for Trey, and then when Trey gets hurt, the offense shifts for Jimmy. And then when Jimmy gets hurt, it looks different for Brock. And I think that really speaks to Kyle and like who he is as a head coach, as a coordinator, like offensive coordinator basically for them, and how he formulates his game plans. Like, I feel like a lot of times you see coaches that try to just fit every quarterback into the same mold, and he very well knows that every quarterback's different, and he's not like too stuck to his ego or whatever you want to call it to not change. And so as long as it's within the parameters of his offense and there's 800 plus plays in it, he'll take the best 200 for that game plan for that specific quarterback, and the other guy might get a different 200. But whatever he feels like is the best for that guy and for the guys that are available for that game, like, he goes with it, and he's not too strung out on any of the other details of like, this has to be my offense and how it looks. He just wants to execute, get the ball in the guys' hands that are playmakers, and keep the quarterback safe.
Man, you definitely see him while he plays. It's just sometimes guys just look so wide open when you watch them play. I was talking to a quarterback I know in the NFL. He was like, man, like, when you watch San Fran play, it's just like I've never seen guys that wide open in the NFL.
Which one, Shazier? Tell us who you were talking to.
I can't tell any names. I can't tell any names right now.
It's bizarre though.
I would love to, but but yeah. I ain't gonna say his name.
It's true though, like.
Hey, it's crazy for an NFL quarterback to even say that. Like, man, there's guys wide open in the middle of the field. It's crazy some of the schemes that they're drawing.
Yeah,
up.
and when you get like, it's one thing to have like just regular dudes wide open, but when you have studs wide open, like, that's like, even Brock last week, like, he had a rollout to his left, and I think he threw it like slightly behind Debo, but it was so far like wide open that it turned into a touchdown. Where if it was a normal guy, probably gets like an extra 5 to 10 yards and gets tackled. And so like, knowing for Brock that he doesn't have to be perfect, I think allows him to like really be whoever he wants to be in the offense, depending on the game. Like, you know how it is. Some games, like, you feel like you can do everything. You might feel a little faster as a quarterback. Like, some days when I wake up, I know I can hit any throw that I want. And some days, like, it just might not be my day. And so to be able to have those things like play out throughout the course of a season, like, I think he looks so comfortable because of the situation he's in. And like, to start your career out this way, like, what a really cool spot to be in to like grow from.
So do you think somebody like Brock Purdy has a chip on their shoulder?
Without a doubt. So like, some of the stories that we have from him, I know one of them I think was posted on ESPN or something like that recently about Nick Saban telling him like he's too short, not talented enough, all this other stuff. And he had another coach who I won't name basically tell him like, he got into the office to meet him, and he was like, we can't get you. Like, you won't make it. Like, you're too small, essentially. Like, in the coach's office when Brock had went on a visit to the school. Like, and that's how he was like rejected in the office. And like, he talks about this stuff. It means a lot to him that I'm sure he has a little hit list of every last person that ever said anything to him. But you can see it like come to life in like his personality when he's playing. It's been cool.
That is a common theme with the guys who really achieve in the biggest spots. All are able to put a chip on their shoulder, whether there should be one there or not. But maybe it's cynical, but also there's a lot of evidence that says a rookie QB cannot take his team to the Super Bowl. As a matter of fact, I agree with what this guy had to say about a month ago. In 56 Super Bowl experiences, no rookie QB has ever taken his team to a Super Bowl. You think Brock Purdy's about to do that? It is over for the Niners. I'm sorry to say that. They cannot get to the Super Bowl. I didn't say you said that. A lot of people are talking about, can the Niners still make some hay in the playoffs? No, they cannot. They might win a game. They might win 2 games. They are not going to go to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry to issue that. Spoiler alert. Nothing against you, Kyle Shanahan, or the franchise. It's over for you. You cannot run the 7th pick. All right, so what do you think? I think that guy sounds pretty sharp. Annoying voice, yeah, but I agree with the theme of his argument. How say you, Benkert? Can Brock Purdy defy 56 years of Super Bowl evidence and get these Niners past the Eagles into the big game?
100%. I think with that roster, the guys that they have, the way they play football, and just the whole package, I don't see how they don't win the Super Bowl this year.
Can't see it. Wow.
That's crazy you said. That's like, I was with you until you said I can't see it. Like, the Eagles are pretty damn good. You know,
Eagles are good.
And they have 70 sacks on the season. That's 2 less of their NFL record. So the thing is, I think Brock Purdy is really good, but when you look at quarterback, it's been 4 other quarterbacks, I think, in front of him. Ben Roethlisberger was one of them. Joe Flacco was one of them. Butt Fumble was one of them. Mark Sanchez. And then the other guy,
Sean King.
Yeah, Sean King, and he was a 2nd rounder. Everybody else was a 1st rounder. So, you know, I think it's really hard for me to see him be able to break history, but like, we never seen a rookie since Ben be able to do what he's doing right now. So, man, they're going to have to come strong if they want to be the Eagles.
So I have a few things to say about that. I don't think any of those guys, besides maybe Joe Flacco, had the defense that they have. Like, whatever it was with their defense. Like, that defense was nasty when Joe Flacco won the Super Bowl. The other part.
No, but he didn't make it. He lost.
No, rookie QBs in the title game.
If we could compare the rookie quarterbacks from then to the defense that the 49ers have now, I think that's a whole different conversation. I also think, I don't know, man. The Eagles are really good.
But that Steelers defense was good.
They were solid. They were solid. But, like, look at the Eagles. They have, like you said, like, they're almost going to break the sack record for the NFL, like, of all time. But they're also offensively playing from so far ahead most games that the other side of the ball is in passing situations for almost the entire second half, where I don't think that's going to be the case when they play. I don't think that it's going to be – I think it's going to be a really close game all the way to the end, but I don't think they're just going to be able to tee off and get the 49ers out of their offensive game plan of running the ball, having play action, doing bootleg. It is, though, if the Eagles can get ahead by 2 scores, 2, maybe 3 scores, I don't think the 49ers are built to come back. But if the Eagles can't get out to an early lead and they can't play to their play style that they want to, it's going to be a really long game for them.
My assumption has been, or the thing I keep floating, I know I sound like a real curmudgeon where Brock's concerned, but there are some high-end QBs that we've seen through the Super Bowl era that as rookies couldn't get over the hump. So forgive my cynicism where that's concerned. But I keep saying, well, Jimmy G, at some point, if he's an option, Shanahan will go to him. I've now moved on from that because I just can't see the scenario where you would pull the kid and put Jimmy G in. Let's say they do anything less than win the Super Bowl. Because if they win the Super Bowl, Brock Purdy's got to be your 2023 starter. What if it's anything short of that? What do you think happens? Read the tea leaves. 49ers starting QB in 2023.
I think it's going to be Brock regardless. I do. I think that with that roster and how they formulate the team, like, they've had Nick Mullins be a starter and win games. They've had C.J. Beathard be the starter and win games. Like, in the NFL, it's about winning games and getting to the playoffs. They know they can win games and get to the playoffs with Brock. And he's already now won a playoff game. Like, you know what I mean? It's what is the NFL all about? It's about getting to the Super Bowl and really going deep into the playoffs. Like, that's, if you go deep in the playoffs, you're going to be happy. And they know that they can do that with him. If they can keep most of the roster intact and still keep winning games with him, like, he can distribute, he can make plays, you can trust him in really big games. Like, I don't know what more you could ask out of a quarterback. His ceiling may not be like everybody else's, but you're probably not going to have to pay him like you have to pay Pat Mahomes. So you're going to be able to pay to keep guys around him, and you know you can, like, rinse, repeat this process.
Sure, window's open for the next few years if you decide that we're rolling with Purdy because you can flesh out the rest of the roster. But you mentioned those limitations. What are they? What does Brock Purdy not do as well? I mean, it's empirically obvious that he doesn't have Josh Allen's whip, but few do. What is Purdy? What does Shanahan have to work around with this kid?
I mean, I don't see him being the guy that's going to throw like 65-yard bombs for touchdowns, but like, how often does that happen in the NFL? Like, a lot of them are medium routes that go like yard, like they go all the way. It's not like you're just throwing bombs away go balls. So like the physical limitations, like I feel like as a quarterback in the NFL, like once you're over a certain threshold, like it doesn't really matter. Like you see Josh Allen throw like a 70-yard pass in double coverage and it's sweet, but like you get 2 of those a year maybe, where if you have a guy that's just consistent, moving the ball, making plays, like avoiding sacks, like you have winning. Like you have a lot of really good quarterbacks in the league right now that just aren't winning. So I'm sure a lot of these coaches would give up this maybe really stellar quarterback with an average record to have a guy that with a team around him you can win games with. I think the 49ers are creating a blueprint for the NFL to look at and reevaluate, like, where do we spend our money? How do we guarantee that we have long-term success? Because they've been through 3 quarterbacks this year and are 1 game away from the Super Bowl. How often does that happen? It's not like Brock was drafted to be the second quarterback for the team this year. He was the 4th guy, and they're winning. And I just think it goes to show the value of having a really good team versus really good players.
Hey, man, Kirk, like I want to say I agree with you, but I can't agree with you with them going to the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a really good game. I can't agree with you going to the Super Bowl. And, but I do agree that Brock Purdy is going to be the quarterback for them next year. I just think he's doing too much. He's proven enough, and he has enough games under his belt. He might mess around and win Rookie of the Year and even play the whole season. So, I think he's one of a kind player, and especially as a rookie. But man, Kurt, thank you for joining us today, man. We really appreciate you.
Awesome, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It was nice talking.
Go get him, man, yourself. Let's see you pull a Brock Purdy in 2023.
Hey, right place, right time. You never know what happens.
Thanks again to Kurt for joining us today. You can see more of Kurt on Space Station Gaming. You can find his NFL 101 ebooks on his website, and stay tuned for everything else he has coming down the pipe. And next up on the Checkdown, will Mahomes come back from his ankle injury and power the Chiefs to a Super Bowl?
Don't call it a comeback.
All right, Shazier, we're not done yet. It's time for some other comeback stories in the news we need to give a look at this week. This is the Checkdown. Don't know if you heard, Shazier. Patrick Mahomes suffered a high ankle sprain in the Chiefs' divisional round win over the Jags. Do you think he'll be able to come back strong enough? Now, people are saying he is going to be out there. Another matter of how close to 100% he'll be in order to beat the Bengals in the AFC title game.
Man, just to watch how Patrick Mahomes played versus the Jags and to be able to fight through, still have a phenomenal game on a high ankle sprain, man, it just tells you what type of player he is. I've actually had a high ankle sprain before, and I was actually not supposed to play the game I got hurt because I had a high ankle sprain. So this is what's crazy to me about it. I didn't practice the whole week, but I was very involved in the game plan, very involved in understanding what the team is going to do. So if they take care of it, they always do, and he has a really good rehab, I think Patrick can come back and have a wonderful game. Last time he played the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC Championship, he threw for 275 and 3 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 interceptions. So, if he can do anything relatively close to that, I think that they can have a solid chance. But man, it's tough when the defense knows that the quarterback is hurt. They know that he can't get out the pocket the way he normally gets out the pocket, and that's Patrick Mahomes' strength. So I think he can come back. I think we're going to still see the same Patrick Mahomes, but the only thing we're going to be missing a little bit is, in those big-time moments when Patrick might have a 17-yard scramble or a 20-yard scramble or a 10-yard touchdown. I don't think he's going to have that this week. So, to me, I think they're going to try to get the run game a little bit involved a little bit more. They're going to do a lot of short passes, which they already do, but they're going to try to make sure that Patrick doesn't have to move as much as he normally would.
I agree, and I misread where the Chiefs of this season were going to be. It's been the conversation since they traded away Tyreek Hill. I think this is the game where that catches up with them, not having that deep shot to take. If he is bound in the pocket, Mahomes, he will look to throw it over the head of the defense, and MVS is there, not exactly as inspiring as one Tyreek Hill was as recently as a year ago. Al Michaels came back to NBC to call a Jaguars playoff game last week. Shazier, if you could have any broadcaster call one of your games, who would you pick?
Man, obviously I love Tony Romo, and I think he does a phenomenal job. He's probably the best in the game right now. But one guy that I really love listening to and who used to call some of my college games was Kirk Herbstreit. So to me, I think Kirk does a really good job. I understand, Amazon, and they're still trying to figure things out over there, but I thought they did a phenomenal job, him and Al Michaels. And to me, I would love to have Kirk call one of my games while I'm in the NFL because he was able to call some of them when I was in college. So I think that's a really special moment, and I think that's kind of a cool moment that a lot of the guys that are playing in the NFL, Kirk Herbstreit probably called some of their games before. So I think it's just a pretty cool scenario to have somebody that was able to speak of the historic play that somebody may have had in a college game and in an NFL game. So I think he'll be somebody that I would love to have call my games.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Al Michaels is hard to argue with, the guy who called the Miracle on Ice in 1980, and he's still doing it at this point. That's a good place to start. I think I'd like, because I'm old, and they are also serve as inspirations to somebody with my voice. Howard Cosell and their athletic ability. Howard Cosell and Myron Cope. Yoy and double yoy. The terrible towel is poised to strike, and so is Dave Dameshek. That would be pretty fun for me to be able to hear. Let's make that happen, can we?
You're definitely a Yinzer. You're definitely a Yinzer.
That's for sure. Shannon Sharpe apologized to the LA Lakers, the Grizzlies, his stylist, and everyone else remotely involved in his courtside, whatever that was, at Crypto.com Arena this week. Shazier, what are the chances Shannon's passion sparks a comeback for the Lakers' playoff hopes as we head into the All-Star break?
I'm going to be honest. I don't know if that will be the spark for it, but I know they just made a really big trade for their team, which, I've been noticing almost every single team that LeBron has been on, there's a trade mid-season trying to make the team better. And I think this is a good piece for this team. And, I think the Lakers and even any sports figure, when you see you have fans and celebrities that's willing to go out there and fight for your squad, that really look up to you as a team, I think that motivates you a little bit when you're playing, So obviously when you're the opposing team, you're like, man, get this guy off the court. He shouldn't be allowed back at the stadium. But, LeBron and the Lakers, they're like, oh, man, we even got, Shannon has our back. He really thinks that we can make a solid push. I'm a big fan of LeBron. I think he's one of the greatest players or the greatest player to ever play the game. So I think, you just never know what can spark it. And that might have sparked it. They're on a little streak right now. And let's see how I keep rolling.
Well, one, it's the LA Sparks, but we're talking LA Lakers. Shannon Sharpe's behavior was bizarre and just about inexplicable. And great as LeBron is, at its optimal iteration, it is Anthony Davis's team. So good news that Anthony Davis has returned in a league of spread the floor and kick it to your shooters. Anthony Davis, 21st century 7-footer though he is, does give him an advantage there. They add a shooter now to that roster. I do think they wind up making the playoffs, especially in the expanded state that they now exist in. The Sixers, meantime, have won 5 in a row, and Temple beat the number 1 team in the country, Houston. Shazier, is Philly basketball making a comeback?
Man, I know our producer Andrew's loving this one right now. With Philly, with Temple beating Houston, and I to be honest, I don't even think Temple makes the tournament this year, but I think that the Sixers have something that they're working with. I don't know about the whole Philly basketball thing has something to work with, but I think the Sixers have something that they're working with. I think that they have a really solid team when Joel Embiid is on fire right now, and when he's playing well and when their team is playing well, it really allows them to just be one of the best teams. So I think that things are turning around when it comes to the Sixers. I don't know how Temple's going to look next week or the week after that, but I know we're going to get a lot better basketball out of the 76ers as we continue to watch this season.
Oh, yeah. It's always good when you get Villanova, let alone LaSalle and Temple and all the rest of those Philly-based college teams going. And I do think that the Sixers have the ability to zig against the rest of the league zag there by playing low-post ISO ball with Embiid, who is just about unstoppable down there on the low block. And I have not handed the conference over yet to either the Bucks or the Celtics. I do think the Sixers are going to have a say come springtime. Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are making a comeback with a new movie about Phil Knight and the creation of Nike. Shazier, what's your favorite movie by that duo? Or I'll let you go off the books. It doesn't have to have both of them in the picture. Your favorite Damon and or Affleck picture?
So I definitely like a lot of the Bourne Identity movies with Matt Damon.
Those are great.
And then I know the whole crew was giving me some slack because I haven't seen Good Will Hunting. As of right now, I looked up a bunch of their movies. That is rated their best movie together. But I did see Last Duel, and Last Duel is a good movie. It's a movie that was a lot better than I expected. I liked it how it had 3 different sides of the story to the movie, and because you only see a movie from one side of things. So I thought that was a pretty cool aspect of a movie, and I would say, as of right now, I would prefer The Last Duel, but I'll probably watch Good Will Hunting before the next time we have our podcast.
You should watch it. It's a good picture, a little overwrought, but ultimately good stuff. And yes, you land on one of my favorite subjects. Jason Bourne, if you pitted all human characters in movie history, not ones that have superpowers, I think Jason Bourne would win that fight among all human movie characters all time. Maybe Beatrix Kiddo from Kill Bill would challenge him, but I think that's the short list for me. That's Last Duel.
That's one's tough. You got the Equalizer. You have a lot of guys, so I don't know.
The Equalizer. You know what I did like in last.
John Wick.
Yeah, but he needs his gun, or else he becomes, pretty good fighter. But what I love in Last Duel is the jousting. Wouldn't that be cool if we had some jousting go? Would you go see jousting if it were a spectator sport in the 21st century?
No, I'll probably prefer basketball or football. I don't know about jousting.
When there's only baseball on, I would maybe a nice alternative, some jousting going on for us.
Baseball in person is a lot funner than it is on TV.
You'll get no argument from me. Nothing like sitting out in the sun with a beer in your hand. That's a vibe. Hey, that's it for this episode of Don't Call It a Comeback.
Hey, also, make sure to follow, rate, and review the show wherever you're listening to it. And check us out on YouTube on the Wondery channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. See you all next week.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.